Do you ever feel like you are working so hard through the school year that you just crash when it comes to summer? And then you go back into the next school year and that same cycle repeats again. The burnout all school year, crash all summer. I know so many teachers who fall into that category, and that is why it is so important for us to have a purposeful teacher summer, not just one where we need to recover. I don't want you to have yet another school year where you feel so overwhelmed that you can't even pick up your teacher bag at all until the school year, because that is a symptom of something bigger. That's a symptom of major burnout that we don't want to have in the first place. And so this summer, we want to make an intentional plan so it doesn't happen again, an intentional reset. And that is why I'm so excited to be back on the podcast for the first time in 2026. Let's go. Welcome to Educate and Rejuvenate, the podcast to help you revitalize your teaching, renew your spirit, and reignite your passion for life. I'm your host, Kelsey Sorensen, a former teacher, current homeschool mom, published author, and certified life coach. Whether you are a teacher in a traditional classroom, homeschool from your kitchen table, or anywhere in between, I am on a mission to help you not only survive as an educator, but thrive. Get ready to uplevel your skills with incredible insights from guest experts and discover the missing piece, rejuvenating yourself. Are you ready to both educate and rejuvenate? Let's go. Hey everybody, it's Kelsey. I'm back. I haven't been on the podcast at all yet in 2026, which is just so crazy to me, actually. I love the podcast so much, but as I shared last year, I did need to decide to take an intentional break from the podcast because, really it's just like a time and season for everything, right? And now it is time where I'm really starting to think back about I want to get back to the podcast. And while right now it is still not the right purposeful time for me to be recording a brand new episode every week because I am planning our summer event, I will be back soon with brand new episodes. I don't have a definitive date for when new episodes are coming back, but in the meantime, I wanted to pop in starting now with some of my favorite episodes from the archives with a little message from me at the beginning of each one about why I picked it for right now. So this one I chose, it is called How to Have a Purposeful Teacher Summer. And honestly, whether you're coming to our summer refresh event that we're planning or not, this episode is going to help you start thinking about your summer more intentionally right now. I recorded this a few years ago and I still think about all these concepts every single summer, but here's what I've learned since then that I want you to keep in the back of your mind as you listen. Most teachers don't struggle with their summers because of bad planning. They struggle because everything outside of them has been running the show all year. There's so many demands, so much noise, the endless to-do list. And summer comes and that doesn't just automatically stop. We have a hard time turning off that teacher brain sometimes, or other times we might just crash and be like, I don't want to think about it at all. And what I talk about in this podcast is that maybe in between is the right place to be, just so we can make sure that we don't burn out again. So even with the best intentions, the summer tends to just slip by and we just end up back where we started. It's that burnout crash cycle I was just talking about. And that's what this episode starts to address. And it's what I go even deeper on now on my coaching framework that I call the Inside Out Teacher Framework. And I'm talking about that a lot at our conference happening later this month. So as you listen, you might hear yourself hearing it in a new way. And if you want to take it further, we are going to work through this live at the Summer Refresh on June 30th and July 1st. It is our 5th year of doing our summer event. It's the same conference, if you've been following around here, that you might already know and love. Maybe you've already attended. But for the first time, we have general admission completely free to join us live. And you'll get a PD certificate if you stay the whole day and you're there at the end of each day. And if you want to be able to attend every session without having to choose, we do have breakouts. Like if you want like Hermione Granger's time turner for the event, there are upgrades available too at the best prices we've ever offered. So you're going to want to check all of that out. Go grab at minimum your free spot at educateandrejuvenate.com/summer 2026. I don't want you to miss it. And then while you're waiting, make sure to tune into these episodes each week. They're really going to help you get ready for it. So now here's this episode. I hope you love it as much as I do. And let's dive into it. Are you ready? Okay, let's talk about it. So, part of it is looking at our intention. Now, the important thing about finding a purposeful summer is you need to kind of understand what your purpose of your summer is and kind of have some intention with that. Because if we don't, then there's no direction. Then it's just whatever comes is what's going on. And, especially when we don't have intention or like a purpose behind what we're wanting to do over our summer, then other people will fill it up, right? So it's like if you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, then somebody will be like, hey, I need this. Hey, I need that. What about you do this? What about you do that? And you'll just kind of go along with it. And there's nothing wrong with like, obviously, we want to help people. We want to be involved with people. We want to connect with them. But we don't want to do that at the expense of ourselves, right? We need to make sure we're taking care of ourselves both in the moment during the summer, making sure we're rested and rejuvenated, but also our future self. Because think of future you. So for me, if I'm looking at future Kelsey at the beginning of the next school year, I want to make sure that I've taken time to mentally and physically rest, but also mentally prepare myself and strategize and set goals for the upcoming year so I don't show up and I'm just like, oh, wait, what am I doing? What's going on? You want to kind of feel like you're ready to hit the ground running and excited and have energy. Like it's not just like, oh, I'm going back because I have to, but like, oh, I'm going back and this is what's going to be even better about this year. I'm really excited to see how it happens because I have this plan and I know that I can do what I set my mind to. Like that's just so much more of a powerful place to come from. So what I want to talk about is kind of the two mistakes that teachers make when they're planning or not with their summers, right? So the first is too much busy. So if you're spending a lot of your summer, especially if it's like, maybe you're just coming out of your teaching certification, your teaching license and your degree, whatever you want to call it, and you are excited, you're planning, you're prepping, you're doing all the things to prepare for school. But then maybe by the time school comes, you're like, oh man, I'm already exhausted, right? But you might also fill it with like personal projects like, oh, I want to do this yard thing. And oh, I want to do this and I want to do that. The things that you didn't get time to around the school year or things that you're like, oh, well, I have 3 months. I've got a full 3 months of summer, which like, when you're first thinking about it, you're like, oh, I've got so much time to do all these things. But then you realize that it flies by, right? So if you try to jam pack too many things in there, you're just going to start the year feeling overwhelmed and stressed. And especially if that busy is like not things that are setting your mindset, setting your intention for the year so you feel ready for it, you just kind of come in feeling a bit more exhausted. Okay, so a lot of us overachievers, so which in general, I would put teachers and parents into that category, right? We're lifelong learners. We're always wanting to help people. We're wanting to do things for ourselves. We have lots of ideas and things we want to implement. But all of those are good things, but the downside of it is that sometimes we don't like having open space in our schedules. Like if we find we have this gap with nothing, we're like, what can I fill it with? What can I do? I don't feel productive if I just take some time to sit here and reflect and plan and ponder or whatever, or even just do nothing, just kind of meditate or be there. Like even if it's 5 minutes, we usually find something to fill it with, right? That is the problem with busy when we're just like, I need to go, 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 be busy all the time. It's been glorified. We're like, oh, I'm busy. Like it's a status symbol or something. If we just have so much going on, maybe it makes us like, internally feel like, oh, I'm just, means I'm important. It means I'm doing a lot of good if I'm always busy. But it also means that you're maybe not taking that time to disconnect, to self-reflect, to just be, which is very important. So we're going to talk about making sure that you don't have too much busy. But on the flip side, another mistake that a lot of teachers and perhaps like homeschool parents too will make is not enough preparation during the summer. Now, don't get me wrong, we need rest. This is kind of the flip side of what I was just talking about. We need that rest. We need to rejuvenate. We need to take that time. But if you spend your whole summer like, I'm not going to think about school at all, I'm just going to completely disconnect. I did so much during the year that I deserve this break. Not that you don't, you totally deserve a break. Like I'm saying, you need rest. But if you spend your whole summer just by the pool, reading books, like listening to music, going out with friends, and heck, most of us, like we have families or whatever. So it's not like we're just doing that. But even if it's just like with your family, doing all personal things and nothing related to either your career or goals or homeschooling or whatever it is that you're doing that the summer is giving you a break from, you're not thinking of your future self. You're only thinking of your present self. You're not taking time to set those goals and making sure that you feel ready to go for the next school year. You might be happy right in this moment. You're kind of in like ignorance is bliss. I'm not thinking about school. I'm not thinking about any of the things that are going to come up in August, but you're setting yourself up to start the next year feeling more overwhelmed. Now, the thing I want to talk about is if you feel like, well, I need to completely disconnect because otherwise I'm going to feel I'm already so burned out from this school year. And what I truly need is to just completely disconnect this year. You need a full 3 months to do that to recover. This may be a sign that you were burning yourself out too much during the school year. If you feel like you absolutely have to get rest and rest only and not even think about any school, any of that for 3 months, it probably means that you were doing too much of it during the school year, that you weren't finding that balance during the school year. So it's like when you run, you just don't stop. And then suddenly like you're forced to stop. Like it's almost like the example I shared, like an extreme is like I was going in my life, my business, homeschooling, everything, had a baby. And then I hit a wall where I was forced to get help. I was in the ER, had to get all sorts of help, like with everything. So that's kind of what might be happening to you over the summer. Like you're go during the school year and you hit this wall and you're like, I just can't do anymore. So you're forced to rest. But then what this does is then you're unprepared when the next school year comes around. And it's kind of like what we talked about with the Sunday scaries before too. So if your weekend is your only reprieve, you feel tons of dread about coming back, you might not be finding that balance in your life in the meantime. I am interrupting this episode for just a moment because I want to remind you about our summer event, Educate and Rejuvenate. Here's what a few of our attendees from last year had to say about it. So Shelby said, you did amazing for your first year. I've teared up, came to realization, and honestly got my fire coming back. You and your team have created an experience that so many teachers have truly needed and wanted. I know I said it so many times, but thank you and thank you and thank you for working so hard for all of us educators. Wife Teacher Mommy is truly a community I always want to be a part of. Keep it up. Holly says, thank you for an incredible learning and growing experience with the most professional, intelligent, experienced, generous presenters. I enjoyed every presentation, lesson, talk, and effort. This was the best PD I have ever attended. Thank you. And Fifi said, thank you for your desire to encourage and rejuvenate teachers. You provided hope, joy, and inspiration for so many. I'm so grateful. Go to educateandrejuvenate.com to learn more and grab your ticket to join us this year. This is actually something to kind of flip how you're thinking about it. So if you're like, I need the full 3 months to recover, okay, take 2 weeks to recover, because if you feel like you need that, you probably do need some time to recover, right? So take like a full 2 weeks. Don't think about it. Don't do anything. But what I would recommend is after that, start to weave in some balance, because this is going to be a practice for you. Because if you don't want next school year to be a repeat of the school year where you just felt overwhelmed all the time and where you were forced to just completely unplug because you overdid it, then we need to reflect and figure out what happened. How can we make it different this year? And you might need to take some time to actually learn some strategies during the summer so you're ready to implement those strategies when the school year comes around. And that is what we're here to help you with. Like during Educate and Rejuvenate, we're going to be teaching you lots of these mindset strategies, or maybe some of that time is even listening to this podcast and figuring out how you can apply it to your life and everything. I'm not saying you need to be spending hours of time working on work, because obviously you deserve that summer. Like I said, we're talking about this balance, but take this as an opportunity to reflect, evaluate, and figure out how the coming school year can look different. How you can't just feel so burned out that you're forced to take 3 months completely off mentally because you just can't. Like, we don't want you to hit that point where you just can't very often. Okay, so that gets us into the solution for your Purposeful Teacher Summer, which is striking the right balance. So first, you need to ask yourself, what is that right balance for you? It's not going to look the exact same for everybody. But what you want to do as you ask this question is think about everything I just talked about. Like, you obviously don't want to have too much rest. You don't want to have too much work. So what is that right balance, that in between for you? And take a moment to just think about that. Then as you're thinking about it, what helps me is to kind of, again, we're not looking at like individual weeks like we did on last week's episode. We're looking big picture. We're like visualizing almost your summer. And I love visualization as a strategy. Picture your summer as this blank canvas. And you were like the artist where you get to like create what your summer is going to look like. You know what? You could even actually do this. You could create a vision board, which I love vision boards. And you could like get pictures of like what you want your summer to look like. Like, I want some of this. I want some of that. I want some of this. And then what I usually do is I usually have some words and phrases that remind me of things as well. And I mean, I may do a full episode soon about vision boards, as I truly credit a lot of the way my life has headed in the last few years and coaching and everything to having that vision board and just clarity about what it is, where I'm headed, that purpose. And I want you to have that too. But the way you can kind of picture it, so you have this canvas and you're like, okay, what am I going to include on it? Even if you're just closing your eyes, visualizing it, what are the categories of blocks of time you'd want to have included in your summer? So like broad categories, like what are the like pillars that you want in your summer? So let me just name a few examples that you might want to include. Like, so for example, vacation. Are you going on any trips? Like, this is like literally vacations, traveling, doing things. Is that something you plan to do over your summer? For me, that's something I do like to incorporate, although sometimes I like to go on the off seasons too, since we have a little bit more flexibility with how I'm working online now. But vacation, are you going to fit that in? Rest. That is another category that, again, we do want to have some rest. So what does rest look like to you? Visualize what that is. Is it taking a nap in the middle of the day because you can? Is it going to a spa? Is it just time to unwind and read a book by the pool? Or getting together, getting to lunch with your teacher friends? Does that energize you? Or just friends in general, family? And that brings me to the next thing, which is family time. What are the family, not just commitments, but things you want to do over the summer with your family? And that can also include chosen families. So it can be like your friends or important people in your life too. That could be a category for your summer. Another thing would be reflection and goal setting. What is that going to look like during your summer? Another category would be actual teacher prep time. So like, what prep do you want to do during the school year? Like, what lesson plans, what activities, what are some new strategies you want to try? Are there things you want to learn about, like the science of reading? Or, do you want to get some summer, or do you want to get like beginning of the year review packets put together? We're putting some together for our club members though. So if you're in the club, don't worry about it. You can grab those. But is that something you're wanting to do over your summer? What teacher prep exactly is it you're wanting to do? And then home and personal projects. Like I mentioned, you might want to be doing some yard things. You might want to do some home remodeling or painting a room or just redoing some decor and freshening up your space. That can make a big difference in your life. Or even if it's not like changing anything in your house other than the organization. I actually feel like that can be one of the biggest things is like, how can you clear your mind and clear your space? Like, minimalizing, kind of like what sparks joy, right? Like Marie Kondo says, like, what are some things you can take and donate to charities so you can make more space and all that? So that's just another idea. I am going to be talking about how to declutter your mind and space in the club soon on one of our calls. Excited to talk about that. Another category is, I mean, I have reflection on there, but just goal setting and new strategies you want to learn. And I guess that kind of ties, I put teacher prep time, but I guess like that should have included just like the actual prep, like what you need to do, but the education, I guess, like what do you want to learn over the summer? Like, do you want to learn about different mindset strategies that can help you in the coming school year? Do you want to learn different teaching strategies? Do you want to learn some better classroom management? What is it you want to learn? There's so much like that you could do, and you don't want to do all of it because you don't want to overwhelm yourself, but kind of be like, okay, this education category of my summer, what is it that I want to do with that? So get those categories down, write it all down, and then get intentional about it. So how much time are you going to spend on each of those categories that you visualize, that you intentionally, purposefully chose? When will each thing happen? Now you can have this as structured or as flowy as you would like. Remember, this is big picture. So you could kind of like get out a Google Doc and like write it all down and kind of like how much time you want to spend on each or when each one is going to happen. You could get out a paper planner and do this, or you could just have that vision board and have it up so you remember to make sure that you find that balance day in and day out. It is really up to you. This is big picture, so there are so many ways you could do this. And all year long, I still like to plan my weeks using the strategy I shared in last week's episode about setting an intentional plan and actually sticking to it. But when I zoom out and look at the broad categories, this can be helpful for that weekly planning because you can ask yourself, what things are important to happen this week? These are the like 6 or 5 or 4, whatever broad categories you created that you want to make sure are part of your summer. And you can do that as you plan your weeks, because I mean, I would really recommend you don't need to wait until the school year to start planning your weeks. Doing it during the summer can be a great way to have the habit built. Like, summer is a great time to build some new intentional habits that'll help you during the new school year. It's a great time to do that. And now this brings me to where I can help you if you want to find some more of that balance, is coming to Educate and Rejuvenate. And this also really helps that education category I mentioned, where like if there are different strategies or different things you want to learn before next school year, we have so many amazing presenters this year speaking on a plethora of amazing topics, like basically anything you could want to learn about, you could probably learn about at Educate and Rejuvenate this year. Plus the Rejuvenate part is there because we are doing the mindset coaching, we are having workouts, we are having comedy. Like it's just a really big event with all the balance built right into it, because it's not just about strategies and teaching and you need to do this, you need to do that, but it's like, how do I rejuvenate? How do I set goals for the new year? How do I make sure I'm not burned out next year? And let's laugh. We're going to connect with each other. Building connections can help build us up. You can meet so many amazing people in the community Facebook part of the event. And here's the big thing though, when you come to an event, and this happens for me every time that I attend an event, whether it's for my business, whether it's like teaching related, whatever it is, I just come feeling so invigorated. And there's no way I could ever possibly apply everything I learned at the event. It's just not possible to suddenly change a million things at once. But it just gives you this fire, this perspective that you feel like you're on top of the world when you leave an event. This happens to me every single time, every single event I've ever attended. And this one is just the same thing. You are going to get that fire lit under you again. You're going to feel ready to take on the new school year when you join us at Educate and Rejuvenate. I would love to see you there. Hey, my friend, 2026 Kelsey is back here. I hope that this episode got your wheels turning about what you actually want this summer to look like. And here's the lens that I want to add now that you've listened to this episode. The 2 mistakes that I talked about in this episode, too much busy, not enough intention, both of those, they're not really time management problems. It's not about time management. They're what happens when we've spent that entire school year letting everything outside of us run the show. Again, like I mentioned, the schedule, the demands, other people's needs, the things that our brain is telling us we, quote, have to do that we never take the time to actually question. And we just keep responding to it all until we hit summer and we're supposed to just switch off and be intentional. And it doesn't work that way. So what I've learned in the years since recording this episode and working with teachers and creating a year-long coaching curriculum and all of that, is that the plan matters, and so does something so much deeper. Learning to work from the inside out instead of just reacting to everything outside of you. And it's the piece that makes the intentional summer actually stick instead of just slipping away by mid-July. And that's why we are doing, not only for the first time in this event, are you just going to come to sessions and feel really inspired and have your own notes, but we're creating an actual refresh plan that you're going to walk away from this event with a plan to make sure, like we're going to make sure that you do the things in this episode. You're going to have an intentional plan that supports you in the coming school year. And it's happening June 30th and July 1st. It's completely free to join us live, and you'll get a PD certificate at the end of each day. And if you want to go all in and attend every session without missing a thing, there are upgrades available at the best prices we've ever offered for an event like this. And you'll want to do it before the event begins if you want to upgrade, because you'll get the best price that way. But start off by just grabbing your free spot at educateandrejuvenate.com/summer 2026. I can't wait to see you there. And I also can't wait to see you on next week on the podcast. We are re-airing my interview with Joe and Jamie from the Balancing Act podcast. They are hilarious. They are also going to be doing a live podcast at the summer event, so to give you a little taste of what's to come. So I will see you on the podcast feed next week. Thank you for joining me on Educate and Rejuvenate, the podcast today. If you love what you heard in this episode, be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you're hungry for even more, be sure to check out the book that I wrote. It's called Educate and Rejuvenate, a 3-step guide to revitalize your teaching, renew your spirit, and reignite your passion for life. It takes everything you learn here on the podcast and that I teach our members inside the Educate and Rejuvenate Club into a guidebook you can refer to again and again. One of our early readers said it was like clarity for her brain. Plus, it's not only a book. With your purchase, you'll get a full PDF guide with exercises and links to videos and more so that you can not only consume but apply everything that you learn. If you're ready to make Educate and Rejuvenate not just a podcast you passively listen to, but a lifestyle that you put into action, it's time to grab your copy on Amazon today. Or head to educateandrejuvenate.com/book